Welcome to another CEO Wisdom Pod with Steph van Bokel with us today. He is founder and CEO at Operator One, which is a European marketplace operator. We're going to talk about marketplaces, agencies, and everything in between. This podcast is brought to you by my podcasting company, which is called podfire.com. If you want to start, scale, be invited to podcasts, find sponsors. We're experts at monetizing your podcast. So we've developed a funnel and a strategy, a system to scale the number of guests that you get. You can get invited to these guest podcasts and vice versa. These guests will promote your pod. It's pretty amazing. Podfire.com for that. Steph, welcome to the pod. Can you tell me a bit more about yourself and about Operator One?
Hi, Charles. Well, thanks for having me. My name is Steph. I'm the founder of Operator One, also called O1. We are an e-commerce operator focused on the European market. The reality is that the majority of the people in Europe, let's say the companies in Europe, only sell in one or two countries. Well, I believe in a borderless business. And what we basically do is we open up the European market because we do all the boring stuff, which is necessary to start operating. So from warehouse, logistics, VAT filing, compliance, etc., so that the brand can focus on product development, on marketing activities, etc., while we make sure that the product is available for the local consumer wherever it is in Europe with a local experience, which is important for the reviews and in general the customer feeling.
Right. Why did you decided to get in the marketplace business of things?
Well, because it is a very interesting market. From which perspective, a marketplace is less infected by trends. So when you create a stable business, you actually can predict the growth, and then you can obviously do good business planning. I think this is was one of the main reasons. And secondly, it's also less stressful than having a lot of peaks. So that was also another main reason to do so. And then the third reason is because I saw that the majority of the companies still not really exploiting this opportunity. Well, it is a massive opportunity. So I also saw there from a business perspective some opportunity.
Right. And tell us about your business model here, because I'm on the website and I see the service plans here. One requires 500 euros minimum budget per month, the other 2.5K and the other 6K. So tell us about like what you do precisely and how you maximize the amounts of clients that you have with these pricing packages.
Yeah, so we always say for the price of a half FTE, you get 30 FTE. So we have different packages to work with. We will always work on a retainer level, and then it depends on the number of countries you want to go live, up to 27. And the number of sales channels you want, and also obviously the scope of your catalog. Do you have one product or do you have 500 products? It is going to have an impact on the monthly retainer. So we work normally on an average around, let's say, 3,000 euro per month, plus a 5% success fee. And for that, we basically manage everything end to end. So we organize the import, we organize the content translations, we do the customer support, we do the VAT filing, we do everything on all those multiple countries, up to 27, like I said. So then there are additional options. So you have a part, if you want to start succeeding on a marketplace, you need to have an operation in place, making sure that the customer can get the product, can return it, can talk to you, etc. But then secondly, if you also want to start pushing the sales, you need some performance marketing activities. And for that, we offer then additional packages. Basically, what is your, let's say, target? Is your target to generate sales? Yeah, then you have a limited budget. Is your target to become industry leader? Then obviously you need a larger budget. So from that perspective, you offer different budgets based on the scope of the project and the goals of the company.
Right. Who is your ICP, your ideal customer persona, and how do you reach out to them?
Good question. We any brand basically that is selling products to end users. We are pretty strong within professional goods, so products that are sold to the professional user, such as workwear, catering equipment. But we also sell consumer products. The things that we don't touch are, for example, hygienic products where you need MSDS certificates for the storage. But let's say 90% of the products we're able to work with. If you talk about, for example, a revenue perspective, we target basically companies that do over a whole year 5 million plus. And the minimum is 1 million and ideal target is 5 million plus.
And what niches are working super well nowadays?
Well, what for me is by far the biggest opportunity within e-commerce is the B2B segment. The B2B business is in the same position as the consumer market was 15 years ago. Back then we were seeing it all happening and didn't know really what to do. Now we know that the B2B e-commerce is going to go through the same process as the consumer sales. But now you know what's going to happen, so you can be in front of the trend and you know also what you need to do to exploit it. So for me, that is not a niche because it's going to outgrow the total consumer revenues, but basically nobody's busy with it. So this niche is actually the biggest revenue shift online ever. And when I talk about B2B products, I mean any product that a professional buyer is using, a professional buyer is buying. So if they work in a children's daycare, an office, or a hospital, so you buy medical kits, you buy stethoscopes, you buy workwear, you buy cleaning equipment. Those are all products that are being bought. And one of the reasons why it's a big opportunity is because the average buyer per shopping cart spends 10 times more than a consumer spends. Obviously, because a company spends a lot more than a household does, unless you have a wife like me.
Or like mine. I spend a lot on Amazon too, you know, like it's so easy and sometimes products can improve your life quite drastically. So, and it's important to pull the trigger a lot on buying so that you can improve your own buying algorithm and make better buying decisions. That's how I view it. And that sounds pretty consumerist, but yeah, I believe in the power of capitalism and consuming stuff to improve your life. That is, but yeah, being careful to not buy too much for the sake of the planet as well. What's your growth strategy?
As a remark to that, one of the reasons why I also like the B2B segment, if you're selling, for example, Nike, you need to be continuously busy with the trends. When you're selling workwear and you sell a work shoe, when the work shoe is no longer fitting because it's old, the buyer wants exact same model because that's what he knows and that's what he likes. So because there are less trends from that perspective, the buying and also let's say the end of life items are a lot less. So from saving the environment, that does have an impact. Instead of selling just gadgets and then every 6 months you need to find a new trend, and then the ones that are out of the trend you can basically throw away.
Right. Your growth plan for this year, like how much clients do you currently nurture and how can you 2x that for next year?
We are now around, let's say 60, 70 clients approximately. We are planning to do a 2x next year. We're using multiple lead sources. I am a true believer of, as a sales guy, to pick up the phone and make sure you can make your own money. Because if you are able to, let's say, if you have that talent, the talent of actually calling somebody that is then ready to pay you, that is like the biggest talent you can get. Because once you have that talent, you can always make money, whatever happens in the world. That said, you want to create a lead source that's not depending on these type of sales guys. So what we, for example, do is we have multiple lead sources that we set up. We use, for example, Upwork, to where basically within the marketplace scene, every minute somebody's looking for some support, where we then reply, hey, maybe you should look at us. Then we have LinkedIn, where we do really automated through Sales Navigator messages. Then we do cold email outreach. We do SEO, we do SEA, we do PR activities, and we do podcasts. So we are doing multiple sources. That is pretty new, I must say, because previously we always made our mind by simply picking up the phone, and now we are more making sure that we have those different lead sources. And probably in 6 months from now, I can tell you which ones are most successful for us. Although with cold emailing, we have quite a strong result. Not everybody is really fond of it, because you're sort of spamming and now people are not waiting for it. And especially it can have an idea that you're bringing harm to a brand. But from the other perspective, in reality, nobody really cares. If they don't like it, they click it away. They're not going to start a forum. They say, hey, I received once an email from Steph and I don't like it. That doesn't happen in reality. So if you then look at how much you can automate it and how much results you can get it from actually making appointments, then that's good. And I always have a very simplistic way of looking at sales. And I always tell the team, what is success? Success often is revenue. How do you get revenue? Because you got clients. How do you get clients? Because you do presentations. How do you get the presentations? By creating leads. So leads is the by far most important thing to control in the sales. Because if you're unable to create leads, you can be the best sales guy, but you're not gonna succeed. If you create enough leads, you can even build up your business with a mediocre sales guy.
Right. You talked about cold calls. Do you do cold email as well? Because
that's what I meant. Cold emails. That's the one where we have the most success. Cold emails last, because then you need to be that hunter. But the cold emails is the one that I was just describing as a really good lead source.
Yeah, that's also my experience, like, because starting my career, I started picking up the phone calls. That was like a decade ago. That was still pretty much efficient. Pulled out the list and called people, and next thing I knew, I had my first 6K in my business. That got me like started. Nowadays, cold email is so much more scalable. So yeah, you can do it with tools such as Apollo, SendGrid, and send like 5,000 emails a day, get 10 meetings a day, or even 20 at some time. So yeah, super scalable. What are your thoughts on a podcast? Because I see you have some resources on the website and you want to add value to your clients. So have you thought about starting your own?
No, and I will explain you why. There are so many nice podcasts, and I prefer to be a guest. For me, that's also more scalable, because there are more podcasts to reach out. If I would need to set up my own podcast, probably if I look now at my own schedule, it would require definitely some focus to be able to create some value. So we've been discussing quite actively within the management team. But we also agreed for the next 6 months is not on the table. Let's focus on the next 6 months to be a guest, and then later we'll figure out if we want to set up our own podcast. Also, because we're not getting a lot of traffic right now to our website, our branding is basically just launched. So we don't see that this is the right moment to start a podcast, because I'm also a little bit afraid if I start that I have 3 listeners, of which one is my mother. So.
Right. So what's your main focus for this year? There's 2 months remaining to the year, and big season holidays coming. So what's your focus as of now?
Well, the company focus is just, no projects, just make sure everything is done on time. So nothing new, just make sure that Q4 is handled correctly. My personal focus is improving the sales structure from lead source to CRM system so we can expand next year with less actually labor.
Love it. Last question, you have big challenges in your career and starting company. Like, what's your trick to surmount these challenges and thrive in this dog eat dogs world?
Keep your head cool is an important one. know when to work like a dog, working 24/7. That's sometimes necessary to save your business, because you're going to have rough periods. If you have a good financial planning, which is really important, because you don't have it, you're going to have up in the future. So make sure you have a good financial plan, make sure that not everything will go according to plan, and that you then have a plan B, and that's basically work your ass off to make sure that there's new sales, so you can solve the problem with the new revenues.
Love it. Where can people find out more about you, Steph?
o1.eu.
There you go. And I'm Charles Cormier, host of CEO Wisdom Podcast.com. That was Steph van Bokel.